Agaba, a Dominican woman, is enlisted into the Russian intelligence agency Sparrow school, where she is made to use her body as a weapon. Edgar Rova and Nate Nash, the two central figures in Dominica, are introduced to us. Nate is a CIA agent, and Dominica is a well-known ballerina. After a visit to the doctor, Dominica's responsibility for looking after her ill mother is revealed. Dominica leaves her mother in the care of a carer and goes to the theater to work. She arrives, dresses, and applies makeup before mingling with the visitors, which also includes her uncle Ivan Hargrove. As the play is about to start, Ivan introduces her to Dmitry Ustinov, a Russian gangster who asks for a picture and then uses the opportunity to touch her inappropriately. Dominica breaks her leg while dancing when her partner unintentionally jumps and lands on it. Dominica undergoes emergency surgery. Nate Nash, a CIA agent, is the other person we follow. He receives a call from an automated system that gives him a code to decode the location of a secret meeting. Nate grabs his gun and makes his way to the park's designated location at night. Upon arriving, he realizes he is being followed by a car. When a mysterious man named Marble approaches, Nate hands him something before they go their separate ways. But the car keeps driving behind Nate. Nate shoots the ground to create a distraction, then flees as the car pursues him in order to let Marble get away. Eventually makes it to the American embassy, where the police have surrounded him. He meets with his bosses inside, who tell him the asset is secure. Nate will nonetheless be returned to the United States as punishment for his error. The Secret Service's director, Colonel Zakharov, and General Vladimir Korchnoi are both present when Ivan visits them the following day. They reveal that Nate is a CIA agent who left the country that morning and show Ivan a video of their meeting in the park. However, the identification of the other man in the video is their main concern. Dominica then wakes up in the hospital with her leg in a metal frame. And when she realizes she will never be able to dance again, she sobs uncontrollably. The event involving Dominica's leg happened 3 months ago. Ivan goes to see Dominica, who still walks with a cane. She learns from Ivan that the theater has already found a replacement for her and that they will no longer be paying for her mother's medical bills or giving her an apartment. Ivan invites Dominica to visit him whenever she is prepared and offers to assist her. Before leaving, he gives her an envelope. Dominica rips open the package. She discovers photographs demonstrating her former dancing partner's romantic involvement with her replacement, as well as a recording of their conversation, which suggests the partner purposefully injured Dominica so that his girlfriend could fill in for her. Dominica goes to the theater later that day to watch her former dance partner and the new dancer perform. Dominica follows them to the steam room after they're done, only to witness them having a sexual encounter. Dominica, overcome with rage, attacks them both with her cane before escaping. She decides to get off the bus after realizing that her hands are stained with blood as they travel home. She comes to a stop at a payphone and calls it an accident. She finds her mother on the bathroom floor when she gets back to her apartment, and the carer is nowhere to be seen. She learns from her mother that the theater stopped paying the carer because they realized they had no other option. Dominica visits her uncle to request assistance. She agrees to help him with a small case in exchange for him helping her. The Secret Service needs more details about us in order to determine how we met the gangster Dominica at the theater. Dominica is supposed to approach us so that she can start a friendship with Ivan and win his trust through her charm. Dominica initially rejects her, but eventually changes her mind by reminding her how awful public hospitals are and promising to get her mother the best medical care. In the dress Ivan gave her, Dominica goes to the hotel where Astin was staying that evening. She enters the bar and sits there until we decide how to approach her. Dominica then tells him that she wants to feel special once more as they head to her room. As soon as his men leave the room, Ustinov begins undressing after she asks the guards to give them some privacy. Dominica is then requested to follow suit. Dominica begins to undress after some hesitation, and Ustinov takes advantage of her. When a man in a black helmet suddenly materializes from behind Asnover, their conversation is cut short. After motioning for silence and tossing Dominica a coat to cover her bloodied body, the man throws the body to the floor before leading her out of the room through a back door. The man shoots an employee in the parking lot before mounting his motorcycle with Dominica and riding to an abandoned structure. The man opens the door and reveals Surgeon Maturin behind it. Ivan sent another Secret Service agent, who is currently in another room in the same building as Korchnoi and is keeping an eye on Dominica via security cameras. Ivan suggests Dominica might be helpful when Korchnoi suggests Dominica should be removed as a witness. Ivan visits Dominica and confesses that he was aware of what would transpire in the hotel room with Asnover but chose not to tell her because he believed she would not have gone through with it. Then he offers Dominica the chance to enroll in a unique school where she could receive agent training. She must accept because if she doesn't, Ivan won't be able to protect her. A couple of days later, Dominica visits the Sparrow school, where she is welcomed by Matron. Dominica is taken to her room by the headmistress Matron after being given a false name to use at school. Classes start shortly after that. The Russian Federation is the only nation willing to make sacrifices to bring order to the modern world, according to Matron. The students at the school will receive training to become sparrows, spies with a focus on psychological espionage and seduction. Victor and Dominika are called to the front of the class and instructed to remove their clothes. Dominika is hesitant, whereas Victor does so without hesitation. Matron chastises her for doing this. The SIA's discipline committee has summoned Nate, and he is told that he will be suspended for his error in Russia and is not permitted to leave the country. Their mole Marble has been working with Nate for 3 years and won't trust anyone else. Nate objects, but his objections are disregarded. The students are taught how to determine what their targets want by Matron in a class back at the Sparrow school. Matron provides them with some videos to watch and analyze. On the first video, Victor guesses incorrectly, but Dominika corrects him, earning Victor's enmity. Another female student correctly guesses the second video, at which point she is called to the front of the class and instructed to engage in oral sex with the man from the video, who has just been brought into the room in handcuffs. The girl attempts to do it but is unsuccessful, tumbling to the ground in tears. Matron instructs the students in some fundamental seduction methods used in the United States while also reminding them that they need to learn how to trick their bodies. When Nate becomes aware that he is being followed, he alerts his superiors. When he finds out that the CIA has not heard from Marble, he seizes the chance to let them know that he is the only person Marble will put his trust in. They reach an agreement. Nate is unable to go back to Russia, but he is able to travel to a neighboring nation so that the Russian Secret Service can. Marble will reappear, and Modi is nearby. Nate accepts and travels to the new location with his team. A group of soldiers who have recently returned from war are asked to be welcomed by the students at Sparrow School. Dominika picks a young man and invites him into her room, where she is able to seduce him. Matron and the students watch the performances they gave to the soldiers later that day. Dominika is told by Matron that while her technique was reasonable, she has yet to master fully devoting herself to the task. Dominika is attacked by Victor when she goes to the showers after class. She uses a wall-mounted water tap as a weapon to defend herself. Nate has been moved to Budapest, and Ivan Korchnoi and Zakharov are talking about their desire to take action in response. They are aware that the president does not want them to do anything that might seem hostile toward the United States, though. Ivan suggests assigning a different person to complete the mission. Dominika is questioned by the matron at the Sparrow School and the recently arrived Korchnoi about attacking Victor. Dominika still has potential, according to Matron, but Korchnoi wants a private moment with her. Dominika responds that she owes and serves the state, not her classmate, when he questions her once more after everyone else has left the room. She is permitted to go back to class, where Matron calls her to the front once more as Korchnoi watches from a surveillance camera. As Victor enters the room, Matron asks Dominika what he wants while displaying a picture of him. Matron commands Dominika to grant his request. Dominika refuses Victor's request to turn around and takes charge of the situation instead. She commands Victor to only look at her as she disrobes. When she is completely naked, she sits on the table with her legs crossed. Victor is unable to perform, and when Dominika makes fun of him for it, he flees. Dominika then responds to Matron's query about his power preferences. Korchnoi is impressive. Dominika is informed that she will be sent back to Moscow by Matron when they meet with her again in private a short while later. A call instructing Dominika to meet Ivan at a restaurant arrives days after Dominika reunites with her mother at their apartment. Ivan explains her next task when she arrives. She will be sent to Budapest so that she can get to know Nate and earn his trust in order to find out who their mole is. He presents her with a brand new passport and other official papers. Dominika leaves empty-handed. She travels to Budapest a few days later and settles into an apartment she will share with Marta, another Sparrow. Later on that day, she meets with Maxim Volunteer, station chief, and her new boss to ask him about Nate. She then follows Nate around to discover his routine. Dominika starts going to the same pool as Nate the following day, and she starts letting him talk to her when they leave the building. They converse informally, but Dominika plays hard to get by, inventing the lie that she is an embassy translator. The receptionist informs her that her ID has vanished the next day after she fails to locate Nate at the pool. Nate appears to already be aware that Dominika is not who she claims to be. He explains to his superiors that she has referred to herself by a variety of names and draws a comparison to Ivan. He regards her as valuable and sees it as a provocation when she uses her real name. His superiors reluctantly agree to let him approach her for the purpose of gathering information. Dominika visits the embassy after reporting her progress to Volunteer and asking for an embassy pass. There, she overhears Marta talking with Stephanie Butcher, an American politician. Nate stops her from continuing to stare at her and starts a conversation with her, confessing that he was the one who took her ID from the pool and invited her out to dinner the next day at 8. Dominika agrees and then departs. Dominika searches Marta's room when she returns to her apartment and finds that Marta has been purchasing intelligence from Butcher. Marta does not catch Dominika in the act when she gets home. She provides Dominika with a copy of the report Filatov sent to Moscow, which reveals the enemy Dominika has created. The following day, Dominika asks Valentin to buy her some time by giving her a better report as she follows him into a bar after work. She then mocks his tiny genitalia in an attempt to get him to punch her. Dominika warns him that if he doesn't write a better report, she will take the security footage of his violence to the police. Nate believes he has been duped while waiting alone for his date at a restaurant. He exits the restaurant, but Dominika is closely trailing him. Nate receives another coded message on his phone when he gets back to his apartment, which he quickly records and decodes. Vienna, as stated. A distraught Dominika rings his doorbell as he prepares to leave, and he lets her in while they sip whiskey. Dominika tells him about Salt, one of her bosses. When Nate inquires as to how she is aware of his residence, she increases the TV volume so that no one can overhear them. Nate tells Dominika what happened in the Russian park, and she then asks him about it and kisses him. Nate advises her to go home and consider her options. Ivan travels to Dominika the following day before departing for Vienna. In order to buy time because their superiors are getting impatient, he inquires about her relationship with Nate. Dominika lies and says that Marta and she are both working on the Butcher case, but she'll require more cash. Ivan nods in agreement and then requests his coat to leave. Dominika obtains it on his behalf, but not before sneakily looking through his passport. After he departs, Marta, who overheard the lie and is upset that the bouncer case was supposed to be hers alone, walks up to Dominika brandishing her gun. Dominika assures her that she will receive full credit and additional funds and explains that she only lied to buy more time. Marta consents, but only because she is powerless to refuse. Later, Marta visits to inform him that she knows how to get rid of Dominika while Dominika travels to Vienna and opens a bank account there. That evening, when Dominika gets back to her apartment, she discovers Marta dead in the bathtub. Sergei appears out of nowhere behind her and grabs her by the neck to warn her. Those who divulge secrets experience this. Additionally, you advise her to contact the police before vanishing. Nate is seen informing his superiors that he met Marble in Vienna. Nate now thinks Dominika is even more recruited after Marble gave him documents proving she is a Sparrow girl. Dominika is being questioned by the police in the meantime, but she says nothing. Nate is waiting for her when she exits the police station. Dominika visits Nate at his residence, where he admits that he is aware that she is a Sparrow. She shares with him her own experience while making clear that her mother's welfare is her top priority. She agrees to give Nate's request to work for him as a double agent some thought in exchange for him protecting her. Dominika chooses to take him up on his offer after spending the night with him and goes back to her regular schedule. She fabricates a report about Nate in which she claims to be in control of him and waits for his signal, a phone call with her favorite song, to act. Dominika meets with Nate's superiors and proves her reliability by passing a lie detector test before they approve her. They initially laugh at her request for money but eventually give it to her after she offers to assist them in apprehending Butcher. Dominika receives a special hotel room with security cameras and a set of fake discs to swap with the real ones when the team travels to London to meet with Boucher. Villanueva unexpectedly shows up while Butcher is waiting at the bar and offers to help. To keep Butcher from running away, Dominika sends someone into her room. When Baca shows up, Dominika introduces herself and explains that Marta sent her. By mentioning the money and threatening Baca with some compromising photos, Dominika is able to persuade Baca to stay. Valentin is waiting in Dominika's room as the two women enter. Dominika pretends to check the discs on her computer as Boucher gives her the money in exchange for the discs while actually replacing them with the phony discs supplied by the CIA. Dominika and Valentin leave after telling Boucher to wait an hour before leaving, but Boucher gets agitated and leaves soon after. Butcher becomes alarmed as she is walking down the street and throws the money in a trash can out of fear. She then crosses the street and is struck by a truck. When Dominika, who was with Valant at the time, learned of Boucher's passing, she was given the order to leave Moscow right away. Valentin's discs are taken away by Ivan, who also detains him because both he and Dominika are thought to be helping the Americans. Dominika is tortured in an effort to get a confession out of her, but she refuses to give one. Ivan eventually takes control of the questioning, and Dominika is able to coerce him into defending her. She is permitted to return home, but she feels so contaminated that she won't allow her mother to give her a hug. Following a challenging encounter with Korchnoi and Zakharov, when Ivan gets back to his apartment, Dominika is already there. She gives him a kiss before departing after he informs her that her request to continue working with Nate has been approved. Dominika meets Nate when she returns to Budapest. When they get to his apartment, he discusses his concerns about her unexpected release. He is persuaded by Dominika to move her and her mother to America and to increase her financial support. And before they engage in nighttime sexual activity, He consents. After hearing a noise, Dominika goes to the kitchen and sees Sergei torturing Nate. In an effort to learn the identity of the mole, she initially poses as being on Serge's side and even assists him in hurting Nate. However, Dominika attacks Sergei while he is off guard, freeing Nate from the restraints and tying him to a chair. A brief physical struggle breaks out between the three of them. Dominika takes advantage of Sergei slipping to stab him. Dominika awakens the following morning in the hospital and goes outside to smoke. When Korchnoi approaches her, he confesses that he is actually Marble. He expects to be discovered soon and doesn't want to pass away in vain. He therefore requests Dominika to reveal him and take his place as a national hero. Dominika doesn't give him a definitive response, but she checks on Nate and then leaves after he does. She turns herself into the police and requests to speak with the Russian envoy. When she is presented to him, she instructs him to contact Zakharov and let him know that she knows who the mole is and will reveal it in exchange for her release. A meeting is scheduled for later that evening to complete the exchange at an airport. Dominika will be accompanied by Nate to confirm the mole's identity. If she tries to flee, Nate will shoot her. Dominika has a surprise for Nate, who is upset with her because he feels like she has taken advantage of him. He was approached by the Russians carrying a mole. They take the bag off his face to show that it is Ivan, not Korchnoi, who has been falsely accused using made-up evidence by Dominika. Ivan is the mole, as Nate quickly realizes what has happened and confirms. Following the completion of the exchange, Ivan is shot in Dominika by a Russian sniper and flown back to Russia on a helicopter. Dominika is celebrated as a hero and given permission to live happily with her mother. Dominika answers a call and hears her favorite song on the other end as the film comes to a close.